Well, let's get it started. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is all we are going to see in today's session. What is First Tech Challenge and the main features of building, programming, and I'll give you some of the season information and then the COVID guidelines. Okay. So this is all. So all the anxiety that you have about FTC should be answered in one of these categories. Okay. So this is all we have. So that's my specialty. So I just met a bunch of female coaches. I just told them if I can be a FLL coach, you can be a coach too. And we saw 34% improvement in the number of female coaches in our region. Okay. So this is so simple and you can do it too. So let's see a small video about what is First Tech Challenge, because some of you already really, you all know what it is. Andrew, you all know, but for Nathaniel and Kain, so let's watch this video and it'll give you an entire explanation about what First Tech Challenge season is all about.
First Tech Challenge challenges kids ages 12 to 18 to program, design, build, and compete with robots.
Once you get the challenge, you figure out your game plan.
You build a robot so that you can complete many challenges.
Teams use a reusable kit to program robots in a variety of coding languages.
Every year you also learn more and more about coding, so then your code's gonna get better and better.
Personally, I do not learn hearing about it, but hands-on is just go into it. Instead of saying, oh, I know how to build this robot, I can say, I built this robot.
In First Tech Challenge, students are developing a broad range of skills.
Manufacturing, hardware, troubleshooting, but there's also a lot of things that you learn that you wouldn't necessarily think about. People skills.
Problem-solving skills,
Helping one another, helping other teams.
The program draws so many students that come in who just want to do the marketing, who just want to do fundraising.
You need to do fundraising because you need to buy kits and parts and everything you need for the year.
And that's a great thing that the kids learn very early on.
The model of FIRST has provided incredible opportunities for the students to interact with professionals.
Whenever I ask my mentors a question, they always flip the question around and ask, where would you find the answer to that question if I weren't here? They slowly built my confidence up so much more to a point where we weren't asking them questions, we were just going.
Each team has to compete at a local event, win awards at the local event, and then they're able to move on to the first championship.
Walk into the room and there's that smell of robots.
There's different languages, different culture. It's just the best thing ever.
I think it's incredibly important for youth to see careers in science and engineering as a possibility for them.
High school participants have access to over $80 million in scholarships from colleges, universities, and technical programs. First Tech Challenge is one of 4 engaging FIRST programs.
First in one word, wow.
fun.
First is inspiration.
First is amazing.
First is hope.
Okay. So there's something unique about this metal robot. And in the video, somebody said the smell of robot. I don't know if that's a thing, but I think I missed the smell of FTC robot last year. So definitely we'll have a great season and you will build the best robot. And while seeing my screen, you don't see yourself too, right? You don't see my Zoom gallery. You don't see that, right, in the way?
We can see you.
But you don't see a gallery of yourself too, right?
No. Just the normal,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So just wanted to make sure, otherwise I can move it to the side. Okay. So about FTC robot, the robot itself, it looks super cool and it makes a really cool robot noise, which makes it even more exciting. So there's two kinds of kits that we use for first tech challenge. One is called Robotics, which is a newer version. Earlier, like 2-3 years ago, we used to have Pitsco Tetrix. The only difference between these two are the Tetrix parts are a little bit heavier. Recently, for all the challenges, they want the robot to lift itself off of the ground or to hang from things, kind of challenges, missions like that. So that's why everybody is opting for Robotics. The parts are much more lighter. So at Shiva, we will be using both Robotics, the core kit, plus the Pitsco parts. Okay, so how are we going to learn the names of the pieces? So the first meet, so Wednesdays, we are planning to have our meets on Saturdays. So what we are going to do is we have all the pieces sorted and ready for you. We will do a simple scavenger hunt. One is with the Robotics kit, another one with the Pitsco Tetrix kit. So when you find these pieces and answer all these questions, you will be very familiar with all the parts. So it has a very smooth start. So that will get most of the jitterbugs out of your way. So you will be able to identify the parts and you can look up the names of the parts and you will get familiar. So we will form two teams between y'all, and some of you will be working with Robotics and some of you with Pitsco. So after you find all these parts, I don't know why it's jumping back and forth. So after you find all these parts, we are going to learn about the wiring guide. Okay, so once you wire the Robotics kit, so this is the kit that we will be using, the core kit, just like the EV3 brick or like the Smart Hub for FLL Junior. So this is the main brain of the robot that we will be using. So you will learn how to do wiring for this. So that's step 2. First one, scavenger hunt, identify the names of the parts, learn the names, and then you do the wiring. After we learn the wiring, you are in two teams. We will be building a simple square bot. So this is the easiest FTC robot that you can build. It has like minimal number of pieces, very simple wiring, and minimum number of motors in two teams. Team 1 will be building this. Alejandra, did you have a question? No. Okay. So team 1 will be building this robot. I have step-by-step clear instruction for this. You can follow the instruction, and since you have identified the parts, you will be able to find those parts and you'll be able to assemble this together. So team 1 will be working with this, and team 2 will be building this robot. So this is another square robot, but with Robotics kit. And then we'll have a friendly match between these two robots. Okay, so if you have come this far, I think you're ready to jump into the season. Okay. Now, so you have the robot built. Now we are ready to do programming. So what does programming cover? FTC robot, all that you need to know is just these 4. What is an op mode? And how do you control servo motors? How do you do programming for the sensors? And how to do basic programming. So that's all that you need. You don't have to learn like gyro programming, color sensor programming, this and that like in FLL. It's not that complicated. When it comes to first tech challenge, there's a lot of emphasis for the mechanical design of the robot. So that I would say in FLL, it's 50% robot built and 50% programming. But in first tech challenge, I would say it's 80% CAD designing and the physical structure of the robot. And it's only 20% programming. That's all it is. And 20% program, those skills you can show in autonomous mode. So robots with great programmers, they score a lot of points in autonomous programming. But other than that, I would say let's focus mostly on the build of the robot and let's get that 80% strong. Then we can focus on these four. Okay.
Tell me more about this overpowered mode.
In op mode, it's kind of overpowered.
Sounds awesome.
Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit about it? There are 2 op modes in First Tech Challenge. You want to talk a little bit about it, Andrew? Andrew?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. Can you talk a little bit about op mode? What did you say? The overpowered mode. Is that a yes or no? Do you want to talk about it?
No.
Okay.
My mind is just blinking right now. Sorry.
Well, we looked a little bit at it over the summer, and there's basically 2 modes that you run the robot in. So at the start of the match, for like usually I guess around 30 seconds, the robot drives itself. So it's like an FLL match where the robot goes out onto the field and does whatever it was programmed to do. Then after about 30, so that's one op mode. That's what they call the autonomous op mode. And then there's tele-op mode. So after the 30 seconds, it switches into tele-op mode. And what that is then you're there with, you have 2 people with Xbox controllers controlling the robot. So now it becomes a remote control. Now it's like Robot Wars or whatever, you know, where you're actually sort of driving the robot remotely. It's not just being, you know, there's some programming just to get the communication between the controller and the robot, but it's not like it's pre-programmed to go over and do a particular mission. So you have autonomous op mode and tele-op mode.
Yes.
Thank you. That explains a lot.
And unlike FLL robot, usually the strong programmers, when they run the robot, they know the alignment, they know how to make it work, and the chances of getting the mission right is high in FLL. But here, great gamers, they should be the robot jockey.
Right.
That was quite a moment. Kayan and Dan looking at each other. So Kayan, are you a great gamer? Are you really quick in controlling the joystick? Are you?
That is.
Huh?
That is.
He uses the mouse and keyboard a little too much.
Oh, so, yeah, then that really helps the team. Because in FTC, there is a programmer who will spend hours and hours writing the code, but he may not be the great guy controlling everything, controlling the robot on the mat. It needs somebody else who has played a lot to be able to control the joystick and to be able to do it. So definitely then you'll make a great robot jockey.
Does anybody else play video games?
I play video games a little bit too much.
That's
awesome.
great.
All right. Well, you're nominated then.
Yes. So in Shiva team, we had Nikhil last time. So he was really good at it. So he would just push away all the other robots and go grab all the balls and take it to the destination. So he was really fast. What do you call it? Muscle dexterity or whatever it is. His reaction time was in a flash. So we got a lot of points. So it needs somebody like that who has played with it. And once a year in partner conference, they give us training. They teach us how to do programming and how to control it. When I was controlling it, they said, okay, you're holding that thing for the first time in your life. So that's how I am in controlling the joystick. It needs somebody who has done it like really good at it. Only then you'll be able to score all the points. So we have 2 people who will be great robot jockeys. And then programming, it's just the basic program. You don't have to worry about it at all. season info. Let's see this timeline. The registration is already open. So we have like pre-season prep work. Pre-season is when the teams build this simple square robot. And kickoff. Kickoff is going to happen in September. It will be on Zoom. We'll share the link. You can ask all the questions. They will show how the mat is going to be and what are all the missions. They'll explain. They have like animation of the missions. So it'll be really helpful. Build and practice season and the qualifying season. So they overlap because unlike FLL, for all the qualifying season, sometimes teams, they bring a brand new FTC kit and they start building the robot only during the scrimmage. They call it the scrimmage. So the more number of wins that we get, we will be able to go high and high in ranking. So like for instance, if you show up for maximum number of scrimmage and if you lose every single match, you will be pushed back. But if you're showing up only for limited number of scrimmage and if you win in every scrimmage, you will be on top of the board. So it does not matter that you have to show up for every scrimmage. You have to win every tournament. So that's what matters. So to win, you have to be able to talk with your alliance. I'm doing this mission and you do that mission. Like if the robot has to go up the ramp, our robot is able to go only this much. Then can you come behind our robot and can you give us a push so we'll be able to do that? Or can you stop the other robot from coming in the way when our robot is trying to accomplish the mission? So you should be able to collaborate with your alliance partner. Then you'll be able to gain a lot of points. So it's a lot of strategy involved, not like FLL, you build your robot, you go take it there and just you do your thing. No, you should be able to communicate with the opponent team and you should be able to have a game plan. So this is our game plan and this is how these are the missions that we are going to do. You should be able to talk with the other team. Qualifying season and state or regional championship, usually that happens along with what is FLL regionals. So that coincides with the FTC state championship. And then in April, if all goes well, we can go to the World Festival. So now I have a very long video for COVID guidelines. Who wants to watch a 10-minute video? We can skip in parts and let's see. So I'll keep playing this. If anybody feels it's boring, just put a check mark against your name so I know when to stop. Okay, so there is a green check mark. If you check it, then I know it's kind of boring and we can stop and talk about it.
Hey everyone. My name is Ken Johnson. I'm Director of First Tech Challenge, and I'm here with FTC Guy to talk a little bit about what to expect for the upcoming First Tech Challenge 2020-2021 season. Now, we know there's all kinds of different things going on with regard to social distancing and COVID-19, but I can tell you and remind a lot of you, FIRST was founded 31 years ago to prepare the next generation of science and technology leaders. And that preparation directly aligns with the types of challenges that we face today. While we know that as the fall season starts to open up, social distancing requirements will probably still be in effect in many areas, and that things will look a little bit different, we have an experience that you and your teams will be able to use to continue to further inspire that next generation of science and technology leaders. We're going to talk a little bit about the options that will be available for program delivery partners and event hosts in your region. Now, we know that there's going to be some regions that are going to start the fall school year and First Tech Challenge season with some pretty stringent social distancing limits in place, the type that might not allow a traditional First Tech Challenge event to be held. For those regions, we're offering the opportunity for them to choose remote events. Remote events were developed with an eye towards mimicking as closely as possible traditional First Tech Challenge events. I'll talk about the two elements of remote events and the remote event option, starting with judging. I think by now most of you are probably familiar with how judging works in First Tech Challenge. If you're new, welcome. It's a wonderful part of the experience. Judging in traditional events takes place during the event window, where teams are assigned different rooms to meet with judges. In those rooms, they present their pitch to the judges about how they performed in the year, and they provide materials to those judges. The judges are offered the opportunity for question and answer, and then they deliberate. That same format will be offered in remote events. The difference, of course, being that those will be done remotely through video conference and through digital submission of judged material. So judges won't be able to go and visit your team in their pits, page through your engineering notebook, but they will have access to different elements of the items that you're under the judged competition looking to be judged upon. Those information pieces will be provided digitally so that judges can take a look at them both before, during perhaps, and after within the judge deliberation process. Instead of your team being scheduled to meet in a classroom at a certain period of time during a traditional event, your team will be scheduled for a judge session through video conference. Video conference will also be used by judges to do their deliberations across the entire event to determine which teams have earned those particular judged awards. And again, they'll be the same awards that you're used to now. So let me shift gears to how the competition, the robot competition portion of remote events will work. In traditional events, we have alliances and we have alliance opponents. In remote events, under social distancing guidelines that will be in place in many areas, we're not able to have teams compete directly head-to-head against other teams. So what we've done is we've adapted the game that we just announced, Ultimate Goal, to be able to accommodate teams playing the game as a single team. That full game will be released on September 12th, and I hope you tune in. But the way that that game will work is such that an individual team on a half field will be able to play and record the points that they've scored in that same match format. That match format, as you know, 30 seconds autonomous, followed by 2 minutes of teleoperated. In the remote event format, the teams that are selected for that particular remote event will be given a window. That window of time is both for judging, so that there's flexibility in scheduling for both the judges and the teams, and also flexibility for the teams to promote, to actually perform their 6 official robot matches for that particular remote event. This flexibility should allow teams that need to perhaps share fields with other teams and not be in the same building at the same time to be able to do so. It also gives them more flexibility on how the teams pull together to actually hold their particular event. So the way that the remote scoring will work for the robot competition will be a lot like First Lego League, frankly. If you're familiar with First Lego League, those robots don't go head-to-head against other robots, and they don't have alliance partners or alliance opponents. In First Lego League, the robots perform their duties, their different tasks, and they're judged and scored on that. In Ultimate Goal this year, teams will be able to play that game and score as many points as possible in the remote format. What the teams will do is that they will either assign one of their teammates, a coach, or another adult who's familiar with the scoring, access to the Ultimate Goal scoring application. When teams have their remote matches scheduled within that remote event window, they can go and play those remote event matches, and as they go, they will hit official match if this is an official match that they're playing. The scorekeeper will keep score through autonomous. There'll be a stop at the end of autonomous, just like in traditional events. And then the teams will be asked if they're ready to go to start teleop, at which point the final 2 minutes will start. During that time, the scorekeeper will keep track of the scores that the team is recording. At the end of that match, the scorekeeper will then upload that official score to the cloud for use in those matches that are applied to your particular team. So the way that the matches and the way that the teams will be scored are based on cumulative points scored. Now, as you know, in the traditional format of First Tech Challenge, the team ranking has been based on win-losses, with the tiebreaker being the opposing alliance points. Because remote events aren't able to have opposing teams to play against or with, the total point score will be how the teams will be ranked from the robot competition side. So how will that work in a traditional event? Because part of the requirements that we had as we pulled together this remote event option was such that it could transition into traditional events as social distancing guidelines and rules hopefully are relaxed within your individual regions. The traditional events for Ultimate Goal this year will be played very similar to how I just described. Teams will be, in traditional events, matched with alliance partners, and they'll play against alliance opponents. But the scoring and the points and how they'll be evaluated will be exactly the same as they are in remote events. In the traditional event format, you and your alliance partner will score as many points as possible over the 30-second autonomous and 2-minute tele-op period. Your opposing alliance will be doing the same thing. There will also be opportunity for a little bit more defense in the traditional event, but the format, the strategy, the development of your robot, the programming should all be very similar between both remote and traditional events. The reason we did that is as teams and regions hopefully are able to transition, we didn't want the teams to have to come up with a whole new robot design, although their strategies will shift a little bit as they start to have alliance partners. One of the questions that we have been asked in talking about this and we've considered closely is how do we know that the teams that are scoring their own matches for these official events, these remote events, that they're accurate? Well, I tell you, if you look at how sports like high school golf are played, the players are expected to record their own scores and to be honest about it. In First Tech Challenge, the ethos and the values of that are directly in line with what we do. The ethos and values of FIRST are that you compete as hard as you can, that you're honest, that you're accurate. And I'll make that point in a different way. The reason that there are over $80 million in scholarships for FIRST students, the reason that we have such wonderful sponsors involved in FIRST and First Tech Challenge, and the reason that there are employers standing literally in line to hire First Tech Challenge students when they come out of college, and sometimes even before, are exactly for those values and ethos that I just described. I think that we can hold our community and ourselves to an even higher value than high school golf. And I think this is an opportunity for those FIRST values and ethos to really shine. This is a tough situation we're in with COVID-19, but as I started, there's never been a more important time for the values, ethos, for the creation of the next generation of science and technology leaders than there is right now. So please join me in registering for FIRST, becoming part of the experience this year that could be remote, could be traditional, but both which will lead all the way up to the path to World Championship. And I hope that I can see you there in person, and I look forward to all the wonderful things that you're going to do this year. Thanks a lot to our sponsors, and specifically Qualcomm for this year's Ultimate Goal game. It's going to be great.
Okay. So